thanks for the invite to talk today. I'm going to come at it from a really different angle than our last two speakers. I'm running a co-op, and I'm now running my second cooperative that is a very commercially driven entity, and we go out to make money. That is what we do, and then we return those profits to our owners. So we don't, the idea of working 30 hours a week and living in a wonderful place, trust me, it's a dream for me. So what you guys do with your co-op, I'm absolutely in awe of. But we take a very different focus to our business. So a bit of background, I'm from Blenheim, grew up in Blenheim, school at Lincoln University. My background is actually research, and my first love is scientific research. That's what I do. And how I've ended up running two cooperative companies now, I still don't really know. But I have. So the first one Craig talked about earlier was a company called Seasonal Solutions, based in Alexandra, which came about with a group of fruit growers in central Otago who had trouble getting staff. Okay, like you talked before about staff and coming into New Zealand, had trouble getting staff. So about 40 or 50 growers got together, formed a cooperative company. They got me involved, and we relied at the time purely on MSD funding. So we didn't have a business case, we weren't making any money. 5 years later, I was running a company that was turning over about $20 million a year. It was hang on to the tiger by the tail, and we grew a pretty successful business in a hell of a hurry. And we're pulling people in from backpackers. We started with RSE, the Recognised Seasonal Employers Scheme, which is the Vanuatu. Who do you have here? You have Tongans, you have guys from Vanuatu. Yeah, so I was the biggest employer in Vanuatu, and I was based in Alexandra in New Zealand. So we're pulling over 1,000 guys out of the Pacific Islands. We had work in Central Otago, we had work in Marlborough, we had joint ventures here in Nelson, Hawke's Bay, etc. So it was kind of an interesting role, and I saw a lot of stuff. What I'm going to talk about in my talk is what I saw, so we'll just quickly keep going. Next role I took was the general manager of what I'm doing now, which is Marlborough Grape Producers Co-op. 3 years ago we had 35 growers who we grew about $5 million worth of wine, and we exported it mainly into America. Last year we've now got 75 growers and we're doing about $28 million a year. So I guess I've taken two companies through quite significant growth in a hell of a hurry, which brings some challenges, and that's what you're going to hear about. So again, no pictures, which is a shame.
I turned it off.
What's that? No, don't worry about it. It's all right. We've tried it. It doesn't matter. I guess one thing to outline: how many of you are thinking or interested or wanting to set co-ops up versus those that are already running them? So there's a few new ones. Yeah, you're in a really unique position because you're going to get to set a company up that's your company. And I use that word quite deliberately: company, cooperative company. Use whatever you like. But you get to decide the rules, you get to set the rules, you get to set what your company's structure, feel, what your DNA is all about. And the DNA of the companies I'm running are incredibly different to the DNA of your tui farm. But it works for us, works for other people. And there's what's the name from Massey University, talks about cooperatives being a socialist construct in a capitalist world. And I think that's such a good quote, because we do care. We all care slightly differently in how we care, but it's that sort of socialism almost brought into business.
Is that Paul Spoonley?
Pardon?
Paul Spoonley?
No.
No, sorry.
Hell's name? She's on the board of Frontiera.
Yeah, Nicola
Shebbold. Yeah. Nicola's a good lady. I just want to emphasise something that's already been said today. If you are thinking of starting a cooperative up, if you are already running a cooperative, join the New Zealand Cooperatives Association. Okay, it's just a no-brainer. These guys have got wonderful resources. They're stretched. Okay, they've not got anywhere near enough money, and that's a theme. That's a theme with co-ops. Haven't got anywhere near enough money, and they've only got a few employees. But you really need to join that organisation. Key thing I've found is get your legal structure right straight away. So the company I'm running now, Marlborough Grape Producers Co-operative, was incorporated as a company only. Ran for 2 years under company registration only, and then we had to take it through and get it registered as a cooperative. You have dual registration, and that was the most difficult, painful, bloody process. that I've ever been involved in my entire life, and I've got kids. So it's tough. So get it right and get it right at the beginning, because if you don't, you will regret it.
So taking a company into a co-op,
Yep.
existing company,
Yep.
that's exactly what you did.
Yep.
So how, if you wanted to do that but didn't want to have the trouble you had, could you just start?
Get a dual registration straight away. Okay.
Yeah,
So
if you've already got the company established.
well, you can't. Then you have to have your arguments with all your shareholders and do what I did.
It's just me and my husband.
Yeah, well, that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Just stay up. Don't go to bed until you sorted the argument out. It's easy. It's done.
Could you dissolve that company and then?
No. You know, you're still a company. If you are registered as a cooperative under the Co-operative Companies Act 1996, you're still a limited liability company as well. You have a dual registration.
Oh, you know, we're just a company, but
Yep.
potentially looking at going into a co-op
Yep.
model.
So you will need to register a prospectus.
Yeah.
You will need to develop a constitution, which is when you sit down and argue about all the rules. So it's just you and your husband. That's easy, and you're in business. It's no big deal.
Okay.
And I talked to someone before about the FMA, lady over here, you know, scared of the FMA. I'll talk about that in a minute. Don't be. You know, guess what I've realised in life as I've gone through life is people are people. Just because I've got a title, you might be a bit scared of them, but don't be. Because they've got the same problems you've got.
What's
They
the
just-
domain?
Financial Markets Authority. Yeah. They've got a little bit, the FMA kind of gets all excited about companies because we issue shares. And things called, what were they called there a number of years ago? Finance companies issued shares and then everyone lost their money and it all ended in a huge disaster. So the FMA gets really excited when anyone starts issuing shares. But through the Cooperatives Association, there's a massive exemptions. And it's really quite an easy process. We'll talk about something else related to that in a minute. Key thing for me, and this is something that you need to understand, is that not everyone's cooperative. Yeah. And I think that's a key thing. And there's a couple of people looking at me quite seriously out there in the audience at the moment, and you need to mull on that. Okay, a lot of people think, oh, cooperatives are where we want to go because they think that might be the vehicle to get them where they need to be. But they're dictators. And they don't work well with other people. And I've seen it. So just have a wee think about that as you're starting to develop your group. The reason people get into cooperatives are many, but it's all about trying to work together for the greater good. And then from there you set your own rules. Some people are not cooperative. You need to understand that. People in business are entrepreneurial by nature. You gather a group of entrepreneurial people together in the same room and they'll fight like cats and dogs. So just accept that, okay?
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump. Yeah, look, I think Donald Trump's a really interesting case at the moment. It's human nature in its rawest form. Don't you find it interesting?
Stimulating politics.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. I'm bloody pleased he's not running New Zealand, but it's a fascinating thing to watch.
Would you describe him as cooperative?
Donald? No. Lots of other words, but not cooperative. All right, I just lost my slides. Hang on. Okay, I'll keep moving because lunch is coming. Two other things I've learned. When you have formed your group and you're developing and you're running your business, now if you're a group of people that are sitting around a tui and doing their thing and chewing the fat and making group decisions, that's one thing. When you're running a $27 million business, $30 million business like I'm involved in, the role of the directors becomes quite different. Okay, and the problem you have is when you take members who are used to running their own little businesses, who have joined a cooperative, and then you put them in charge of a $20-30 million business. The skill set that they bring to the table is not always the skill set that I need as a general manager. Okay, it's quite a different skill set. And if you're going to get involved in a cooperative and you're going to try and turn it into the type of business that I'm running, go as well as joining the Co-operatives Association. Send your directors away to the New Zealand Institute of Directors. Get some training done. Because far too many times, chaps or chapettes that are directors are coming to the table with their grower hat on. You know, from the vineyard or from wherever they're coming from. So much so that in my last role, not the one I'm doing now, the one before, I had hats printed up and it had Seasonal Solutions Director on it. And I put them at the directors' table when they walked into a meeting one day. Because they were bringing their own ideas and their own concepts and their own businesses to my directors' table. They were not acting as directors of the company that I was charged with running. Okay? It's really important. Directors' skills is a massive one. And again, with bigger businesses, not the smaller producer types. They're different. Okay? The other key thing I think you need to get involved in your businesses as you get going as soon as you possibly can are independent directors. Now we have a constitution that says we're allowed 7 directors, 4 of which must be grower directors, and we can have up to 3 independents. We've got 1 at the moment. The last company I was running, we ended up with 3, board of 7. Keeps the balance back with the growers, with the producers, but it brings skills to the table that you might not otherwise get. It's really, really important. Okay. Hang on, there's another page. It's a really cool picture here that you're not going to see. But anyway. I'll put it up on the big screen in a minute. Get your contracts, get your relationship contracts between your entity, your co-op, and your members producing product for you. Get them right and get them tight. And it comes back to what I said before about, not everyone's cooperative. As soon as money's involved, if people have wiggle room, they'll wiggle. That's human nature. Okay, so I'm growing a company at the moment. We've got, we've gone from say $5 to $25, $30 million. We produce wine. I should have brought some samples of that maybe. I like the Tui B-Bar. If there's $1 to be had outside of what I do with my members, chances are the sneaky buggers will go and try and grab it. So you need to nail people down. This is business. What I'm running is business. It's not fun. It's not shake a hand and she'll be right, chap. It's business. And when there's $30 million at stake, it's serious business. So nail your contractual relationships, get them right and get them tight. The other key thing is, and this is a challenge, is find advisors that understand cooperative business. Plenty of lawyers in town, plenty of accountants in town, I'm sure. How many of them are or understand cooperative business? And the intricacies and the differences between a normal company structure and a cooperative company structure and what that allows you to do. Okay, so find the very best people you can and pay for them. And you can't do that on a handshake. My legal bill at the moment is probably, 40, 50 grand a year. It won't be in a couple of years' time because we'll have it all nailed. But to get serious business up and running, you need to spend serious money. If you haven't got serious money, go find it. Because you've just got to get it right. Something in our business too, I don't know, maybe this applies to me, but employ the best people you possibly can, especially in your key staffing roles. It's often easier just to, become a company and put that person in charge and get this person to do that and that person to do that.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Surely, yep. Employ the best people that you can, okay? Spend money on staff. If you don't, you will grow at a slower rate than you could otherwise, if growth is important. Yeah? Couple of other things. Cash. I've run 2 cooperative companies. One, we grew it big, but we grew it on the smell of an oily rag. And it meant that me sitting in the hot seat was doing 1,000 things. I was answering the phone, I was negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts, and I was spending time in Wellington, all sorts of things. The company I'm running now, there's a bit more money in the business, and it lets me buy the right advisors. It lets me pay for someone to go do some stuff in Wellington. And as a company, it allows you to get where you want to go a hell of a lot faster than you might otherwise. So your example before about your lady who said, in 1 year you felt like you're floundering but took someone else 8, been there. Okay?
What was your background prior to getting into
Research. Yeah, I don't know how I'm running co-ops. I've got no idea. Even my wife doesn't know, and she knows a lot more than I do. So, look, there's no training to run a cooperative. I think the other key difference, actually my learned wife said this in the car on the way across this morning. The key difference she sees between a cooperative company and a normal business, a normal incorporated company structure, is that when you're a co-op, you need to care more. You need to have that social, well, in my case, a social skill set that lets me deal with my growers, lets me deal with the government, lets me deal with whoever I'm dealing with. Okay? Whereas if you're just running a normal company, you can kind of forget about your shareholders. You know, if you own shares in Air New Zealand, you'll never get a meeting with, who's the head of Air New Zealand? Chris Luxton. You'll never see him. But if you own shares in the company that I'm running, you own the company. You get to knock on the door, you get to ask the hard questions. So yeah. And the last learning I've made, and I want to impart today, is that having a market for your product is an absolute dream. Having a real reason for your product. Not getting together because you think it might be easier as a group, as a collective, as a cooperative. But having a market. I've got a market in America that absorbs more wine than I can produce. Okay? So there's a few Americans in the house. We send, our company probably started the Sauvignon Blanc thing in America through a company over there called TWG, and they just buy an enormous amount of wine off us. So that's a basic start. Happy to answer questions. I can't be here all afternoon, I'm sorry, but I'm happy to answer them now or briefly over lunch.
So if you were to meet with a grower
Yep.
and you were going to try and persuade them to become part of the co-op, how would you sell the idea, the advantages of being part of the co-op, and what would be their possible reasons for not wanting to join?
You ever had anything to do with the Marlborough wine industry? It's brutal. It's horrible, it's nasty, and it's full of bullshit.
Wow.
So the simple thing is do nothing other than do what you say you're going to do. Okay, that's easy. Just live by your word. I'm a bit lucky because of the way we've developed our markets. I can probably pay a little bit more for grapes than they'd get if they're grown for Jim Delegate or Pernod Ricard or any of the other companies. What drives change in rural communities is people looking over the fence, or any community, is people looking over the fence and seeing success. It's a real simple thing. If you're succeeding and your neighbour sees you succeeding, they'll join in. And that's kind of what's happening with our co-op now. It was hard to get going, but now it's sort of got a momentum. And I'm turning more people away than I'm accepting. Yeah. Which is a really nice position to be in. Yeah. Really nice position to be in.
Are you an employee? You're not a member of the co-op, but an employee?
I actually am a member of the co-op as well.
Okay, and an employee.
Yeah.
Is that because you grow?
Yeah, I've got a little vineyard. Yeah.
Is that how it started?
No, I just like wine.
So how do you meet those? You're meeting your financial sustainability.
Yep.
How do you meet? I mean, you said your social, but that's your social skill set as opposed to sort of social responsibility and environmental sustainability. How is your co-op meeting those?
Yeah, well, I don't think we are, because I think you're looking at cooperatives with what you're saying, and I'm trying not to be offensive with my following comments.
Yeah, no, it's just that those are the
You're-
three
yeah.
things that he said.
And-
Sorry, Craig's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think, as I said before, a co-op can be what you want it to be. My co-op exists not according to the Rochdale principles or whatever academic things that people say a co-op is, values.
Yeah.
I exist purely to pay my members more money than they would get if they were doing what they do for someone else.
So why the co-op? Why the veneer of a co-op rather than a company structure? You know, if you're not meeting those.
Because as a cooperative, I can reward my growers due to their input into our business.
Right.
As a company, I reward my growers based on their shareholding in the business.
So
Okay, so that's the key difference that we have, why we have a cooperative structure.
Right.
you're stronger together.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah.
You can get the volume.
Yeah.
And manage it better than individuals.
Well, we'd like to think so. You know, you wonder at times, but yes. Yeah.
Nobody's talked about marketing yet.
Do you want me to? Was that a statement? Was that a statement or a question?
You can't have a co-op unless you convince people that you are doing them something that they can't do for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So our marketing is doing what we do with our members, and our members do our marketing, which brings us more growers. Okay, that's a simple one. And what I'm finding in the offshore wine industry, offshore wine markets, is we call it the what do you call it? Plate to, what do they call it? Gate to plate. They refer to as food. We call it gate to glass. Being able to take the people that are buying my wine in the United States back into my vineyards with as fewer sets of hands in between my growing and them buying is a tool that is quite valuable. Okay, that whole gate to glass thing. So we don't put any emphasis on marketing. I don't have a marketing budget. Oh, I do a few trips away overseas every year, but that's for lunch. I kid you not, I go to America once a year to have lunch with a client. And I turn around and come back on the same plane to New Zealand. It's dumb, but it's what you do. Yep.
I guess to get a fuller picture, part of this question was why might someone not want to join the co-operative?
Why would someone not want to join a cooperative? Because they might not be cooperative. Okay, that's a true one. In our case, we've got the other wine companies really don't like us. Don't like us at all because we're shaking it up a bit. The wine industry in New Zealand is owned by small producers and large offshore corporates. There's not much in between. Okay, and we're just a different business model. So, yeah, as long as you do what you say you're going to do, people will want to come. And it's only if they hear stories, weird stories, or we've lost money this, or we've done this, or we've done that they won't want to come. It's more about creating the carrot to get them to come than it is getting around the stories, because bullshit's always found out. Does that answer your question? You're looking at me quizzically.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking I've asked the wrong person.
Right? I could be offended by that, but I'm not.
It's hard because just trying to sell. I'm curious about why.
Expand your
behind
question.
People.
Expand your question for me.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to work out why, because I don't know. This is new to me. Why people might not want to join a cooperative.
Cost of control.
It might have
Yeah,
existing
and you've
business
I think cooperatives have generally got like a give back kind of a thing to it.
That socialist thing we talked about.
Donald Trump would not want to join the co-op. He does not want to share.
Well, it's not a. I don't think it's not one. If I was born into a family business, it goes back a number of years. I physically can't. It's not always we don't care. As the gentleman said, we're old people.
A lot of people don't understand what
Yeah, and then
cooperatives
there's that ignorance, right?
Yeah.
Scared.
Yeah.
Also.
What do you make people do?
What do I make?
Well, this is the thing.
Anything I want.
They don't want to join. They don't want to join because they don't want to be told what to do, sort of thing. So, that might be the reason.
Actually, us not telling people what to do is one of the reasons people join us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've got this philosophy in our business that you do your thing. As a producer co-op, all I'm doing is gathering up your product and turning it into wine and selling it overseas. That's my role. So they do their thing over here, which is in their vineyards. If their product doesn't meet my specification, I don't pick it.
Right. You've got to have that quality.
Do whatever you like to get there, but if you don't make it, I don't pick it. So it's quite a good sort of a stick.
Or also they might want limited growth, as in this case, or I have been talking about how, as a director, you have to take what the growers had, and to me there's a little bit of disconnect there, but I don't know, I'm just learning about this.
Yeah. One more question.
I was just sort of adding to that, it seems like producer co-ops work better in a commodity market like Ontario, and they're not actually about differentiation so much. So Sauvignon Blanc is a commodity now, is it fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's not the, you know, it's saying there, it's not a story about a differentiated product where you might want to stay out of a co-op. It's a good model
Yeah.
to compete in a commodity market.
We're using the cooperative model to compete in the commodity market. Yep, we're bringing the buyer back in. Yeah, fair comment. Yeah.
Are you in Appellation in Marlborough? And have you got an Appellation area?
Yes.
Ah,
Government's just brought the rules through.
yeah.
Sorry, last one.
How can you not, if you're a cooperative
Yeah.
and your producers are in your cooperative,
Yeah.
and okay, they produced sour grapes this year, how can you not pick them because they are part of your group?
Because I have a specification. You want to join my co-op, that's cool. Yep. And then you have a separate contract that says you're going to grow grapes for me. And in that contract, remember I said before about get your contracts right? It says you will grow grapes that look like this. Brix levels, acid levels, pest and disease, blah, 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 blah. Make it, tick, we pick it.